the screen there that's being shared? Some nodding heads, that's good. So we'll get going here. So welcome to Cybersecurity Essentials, Building a Strong Defense. I am Brent Amble, a project specialist with the BH Connect program at Metastar. And we are fortunate enough today to have Dan joining us today. He is a cybersecurity advisor from CISA, which is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. And also this is during National Cybersecurity Month. So welcome. You can see in the chat that everybody's placing their name and the organization they're from. Feel free to enter that. And then also along the way, if there's any questions or comments, go ahead and throw them in there. And we'll also have a time at the end of the webinar to go into questions or comments. So just to look ahead at the webinar itself, some objectives that we want to accomplish today, looking at discovering essential tips, resources, and insights to enhance cybersecurity knowledge. Just to level set a little bit, what is cybersecurity? And that really can refer to any technology, measure, or practice for preventing cyber attacks or mitigating their impact. So along the way here, we'll review some cybersecurity examples, and Dan will go into what CISA can offer through their services, and then understand the key steps needed to prepare for potential cyber threats, or if something would happen, what steps your organization can take, and then also look at how Behavioral Health Connect, the BH Connect program, can guide your cybersecurity journey. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan, and he can proceed with his portion of the presentation.
Thank you very much, Brent. Appreciate that introduction. And let me get to the slide deck here. Okay, perfect. So as Brent mentioned, my name is Dan Honore. I am a cybersecurity advisor for the state of Wisconsin. I work out of the Milwaukee area. I'm actually located in the Racine area. And then I have a colleague who works out of the Madison area as well. We cover the entire state of Wisconsin. Doesn't matter where anybody is located. We will go there and assist in any way that we can. Everything that I talk about today that's offered by CISA, there is no cost because it is already paid for by tax dollars. So feel free to take advantage of us as much as possible. We have some really great services, and I'll touch on a few of them today. If there's anything of interest that to you, I would highly recommend that you reach out to me, and we can just have a quick meeting and I can go through the services in much better detail, because everything that we provide is, I think, is a really great resource towards improving your cybersecurity programs that you have. So my background real quick, I've been an IT director prior to CISA of a local municipality for almost 10 years, and the third largest school district in Wisconsin for almost 13 years. So been in Wisconsin all my life, done a lot of great things on the information technology side, moved over to CISA about just a little over a year ago, and I've been enjoying helping as many stakeholders as possible in Wisconsin with their cybersecurity program. And I appreciate being invited here today to talk to you about Cybersecurity Awareness Month and about CISA. So without further ado, let me get into this. If you're not familiar with CISA, we are the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. The cybersecurity piece of that is self-explanatory. The infrastructure security piece is the physical side. So while I am the cyber side of the team, I also have a counterpart who does the physical side. And here in Wisconsin, we have two that will do that as well. And they can come in and provide assessments, awareness training, like active shooter training. So they have the physical side, and everything that they do is no cost as well. So you can reach out to me and get either of our services at any point in time. CISA itself is a young agency. It was formed back in 2018, November of 2018. So we're coming up on our next birthday very soon here. We lead the national effort to protect and enhance the nation's physical and cyber infrastructure in order to maintain a safe, secure, resilient infrastructure so that the American way of life can thrive. So the focus of our mission is protecting critical infrastructure. There are 16 critical infrastructure sectors as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. A critical infrastructure sector is defined as the systems, facilities, and assets that are vital to the functioning of society and the economy. So you can see here on this slide that there is transportation up here on the left, and then you'll also find energy right below that, which is going to be electricity. Further on is going to be water and wastewater. There's going to be communications, government facilities. So 16 critical infrastructure sectors. Obviously, health and human services are part of the 16 critical infrastructure sectors as well. Most businesses, organizations are going to fit into one of these somewhere. There are subsectors within these 16 as well. So like education would fall under the government facilities. So pretty much any entity can fall somewhere within the critical infrastructure sectors, and they would then be the focus of CISA in providing services. So this, oops, I went too far. There we go. This is an extremely small sample of the resources that CISA provides. I won't get into many details of here, but basically understand that there are assessments, cyber assessments that we can provide. We would either do them virtually or come on site. Um, we have small, short assessments with only 38 questions, all the way up to our largest, which is over 299 questions long and takes about an entire day to go through that assessment. But as you might imagine, it's very thorough in looking at your cyber program and other parts of the organization to ensure that you have the controls in place to protect the infrastructure as much as you possibly can. CISA performs and functions left of boom, meaning that we function before the bad things happen. We help prepare and prevent things from happening, whereas our sister agency, which you may know, the FBI, they function more right of boom, so after something happens. The FBI is a really great partner of CISA. We do a lot of work in tandem with them, and it works really well with the left and right of boom in how our two agencies function together. So what you see here is, like I said, just a small sampling. And if you'd like to reach out to me, I'd be more than happy to talk about more of what we do. The right-hand side is just a few of the positions that we have here in our region. We are the Region 5, which is defined by FEMA in their regions. So we have 6 states in our region, Wisconsin being one of those. And on our team, we have an emergency communications coordinator who does land mobile radio, 911 systems. In the middle, we've got the cybersecurity advisors like myself. And then at the bottom, we have protective security advisors, which do the physical side of CISA. So as Brett mentioned earlier, this is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. That is October. So this since 2004, October has been celebrated as Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So now in its 21st year, Cybersecurity Awareness Month is a collaborative effort between government and industry to raise cybersecurity awareness nationwide and help ensure that all Americans have the resources they need to be safe and secure online. Secure Our World, which you can see here, is now the enduring theme of all future cybersecurity awareness months. Whereas in the past, prior to 2023, each year there would be a different theme. CISA has now moved to just one single theme going forward, and that is Secure Our World. This theme recognizes the importance of taking daily action to reduce risks when online and connected to devices. All right, so cybersecurity is important because cyber attacks can lead to significant financial losses. Cyber impacts are not just disruptions of technology, but of the business mission that rely on the supporting technology. Imagine doing your job without a computer or access to the internet. Think about what you do on a daily basis. You might be okay for a few hours or days, but what about a week or a month? So cybersecurity safeguards sensitive data from theft and unauthorized access. For businesses, strong cybersecurity practices build trust with customers. In a moment, we'll take a look at how people feel about cybersecurity. The next two slides will talk about a, uh, a report that came out from OBehave. It's the annual cybersecurity attitudes and behaviors report. This one is from 2023. So they're still compiling the 2024. But as you can see here, the 69% of participants thought that staying secure online is worth the effort. Unfortunately, as you can see from the other statistics, many people feel overwhelmed or frustrated or doubtful or confused about cybersecurity. And that's unfortunate because obviously cybersecurity is very important. This slide here kind of gets into a little bit more of what came from the report. 38% of individuals create unique passwords for all accounts. This is pretty low and unfortunate. You should always create unique passwords for all of your accounts. I'll get more into that in a moment here. What I am encouraged by, though, is the bottom here, which is the benefits of security training. So if your organization does cybersecurity awareness training, that's a really great thing. And if they don't, definitely come talk to me because we should get you moving in that direction. From the training, people say that they are better recognizing phishing, which is a huge uh, open source for the threat actors to gain access to your infrastructure. So recognizing phishing messages could have a very positive impact on the organization, to have your users understand what to look for in email that they're getting. You can see here that 57% started using strong passwords and unique passwords after training. Others have started using multi-factor authentication. I'll get into a little bit more of that pretty soon as well. And then 44% started regularly installing software updates, which is another one of the areas that I will focus on in a moment. All right, now that we have a basic understanding of cybersecurity, why it is important, and how people feel about it, we'll take a look at threats and the impacts these malicious actors have had on Wisconsin. But first, let me talk a little bit about threats. So a threat is anything, whether it's an object or a substance or a human, that's capable of acting against an asset in a manner that can result in harm. So as you might expect, a lot of cybercrime originates from Russia, China, North Korea. You can see that on the left-hand side here. That would be on the outsiders. So hackers, they're looking for financial gain. You've got hacktivists who are, looking at ideological missions. They might be trying to influence the election. You've got organized crime. Of course, they're looking for financial gain as well. Terrorists, competitors, they are external threats as well. And then the nation states, as I mentioned, would be Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, those types. Some of the most damaging comes from the inside, though, as you can see on the right-hand side. So these would be your insider threats. And the problem or the challenge with insider threats is it's hard to recognize them. It's hard to see them coming. And by the time you do, sometimes it's too late. They've already done the damage. They've already stolen your intellectual property, or they've released ransomware in your infrastructure. They've done whatever obviously it is that they wish to do. And most often it's going to be former employees or just somebody who's maybe looking for their own financial gain. So it's hard to mitigate against insider threats. All of these can result in financial losses or damage to reputation. Um, might even be public safety risks, like if you would be in health, as you all are in health, and then there's water as well. So just think about a water wastewater treatment plant that is ransomware. They might not be able to function, and therefore they wouldn't be able to provide clean water. So it can have public safety risks as well. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the web itself. So there is really three parts that we like to look at. There's the surface, the deep web, and the dark web. So the surface is really where we function on a daily basis. You go to Google or Bing or Wikipedia. These are going to be websites you can easily access with standard search engines. The deep web, that's below the surface, is the larger portion of this iceberg that you can see here. This includes everything that isn't indexed by traditional search engines. Examples would be private databases, academic journals, subscription services, email accounts, password protected websites. So the deep web is very vast and contains a lot of valuable and legitimate content. Medical records would be included in the deep web. The dark web, as you can see, is at the very bottom. That's very, very deep within the deep web itself. It's secretive section that makes up this dark web portion. It's intentionally hidden and requires special software, like a certain web browser, in order to access the dark web. It's a secluded area where anonymity is the key feature. And it often hosts activities that range from legal to illegal. Some use of the dark web is for legitimate reasons, such as escaping censorship or protecting whistleblowers, or just maintaining privacy in oppressive regimes. The dark web is a part of the internet that isn't accessible through standard web browsers. It is infamous, though, for hosting illegal marketplaces where people can buy or sell drugs, weapons, and stolen data, unfortunately. Let's look a little bit at how this has impacted Wisconsin within the last few years. So as you can see from this slide here, this is from 2023 from the ftc.gov website. You can see that imposter scams is by far and away the highest fraud that is reported. Imposter scam is a scammer who pretends to be someone you trust to convince you to send them money or share personal information. The best way to counter imposter scams is by pausing and verifying. Remember this saying, never trust, always verify. It used to be trust but verify, but nowadays it's never trust, always verify. So if someone is calling you or sending you an email and it looks like they're trying to scare you, like taking some legal action against you, do some homework. Don't reply immediately. If they're on the phone with you, confirm who they are. You can even hang up or tell them to call you back later. But what you want to do is you want to try to verify who they are and what it is that they're talking about. So don't let them scare you or pressure you into doing something immediately, because 99 times out of 100, it is not going to be legitimate. A few things that have happened here in Wisconsin. You can see here Milwaukee County Zoo and the Milwaukee Bucks. They were victims of ransomware attack back in 2021. The attack encrypted their data and disrupted their operations, and including their ability to sell tickets. and operate their gift shops. Also in 2021, the Milwaukee Public Schools suffered a data breach that exposed the personal information of over 100,000 students and staff members. The University of Wisconsin-Madison, they had personal information of over 1.4 million students, staff members, and alumni exposed. So pretty big breaches. Last year, Johnson Controls, if you heard about them, there was a compromise that started in their Asia office. 27 terabytes, which is a lot of data, was exfiltrated out of their environment. It encrypted a number of their servers, and the ransomware actors requested $51 million from Johnson Controls. The incident at the time that I did the research cost Johnson Controls $27 million to recover. And that was at that time. It may have ended up being more. At the bottom is the Optum Solutions. This one happened near the beginning of this year, I believe it was. A threat actor used some stolen credentials to log into the company's remote access service, which did not have multi-factor authentication enabled. So the threat actors compromised the Change Healthcare platform, which is the biggest payment exchange platform used by doctors, healthcare providers, and over 70,000 pharmacies within the United States. United Healthcare did pay $22 million in ransom so that the threat actors would delete the 4 to 6 terabytes of data that they claim to have exfiltrated. But it does seem that there is no honor among thieves because the ransom may have been stolen by another ransomware group. So the initial group that did the compromise, they were part of a larger organization of ransomware groups, and it looks like the larger organization stole the money from the smaller one. Oh well, too bad for them. All right, so let's talk about how to stay safe online. We have a basic understanding now of cybersecurity, why it's important, how people feel about it. Cyber threats and the threat actors have been defined. We learned a little bit about the dark web, explored some attacks in Wisconsin. So let's talk now about the 4 things that CISA this year is focusing on for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Use strong passwords and a password manager, turning on multi-factor authentication, recognizing and reporting phishing attacks, and updating your software. So the first one here is going to be creating strong passwords and passphrases. And hopefully none of what I talked to you about today is going to be news to you. Hopefully you are well aware of all of this, but if not, and you have some takeaways, all the better. So nowadays, we look at the length as more important than complexity. So back in the day, 8 characters with an uppercase, lowercase, special character, that was the going way that people recommended that you create passwords. Nowadays, complexity is out the window. Length makes a difference. Generally, 16 or more characters is going to be strong enough to keep the threat actors from gaining access. We do like to say that if you require at least a special character, that allows people to use a passphrase. Passphrases are easy to remember because it can be a phrase like Mary had a little lamb, or it can be multiple words that you have strung together that make up a passphrase that you can remember. Even with the passphrase, you never want to reuse it. So you always want to use something unique for each and every account. And I'll get into a moment how to do that easier. The phrase should be 4 to 7 unrelated words. That's a good way to go about it. Usually 5 is the minimum number of words that I recommend. I like to use multiple languages in those environments where I really want to make it very secure. So bank account, good place to use multiple languages because generally what threat actors will do is they will throw a dictionary, most often an English dictionary, at the passwords, at the passphrase, and they'll attempt to crack it. Well, if you use different languages, the dictionary is not going to work for them. In the end, you really prefer that the threat actors not gain access to your accounts, but at least slow them down so that they'll either give up or they will have cracked somebody else before they get to you. So uh, by doing 4 to 7 unrelated words, multiple languages, you're going to make it very, very difficult for them to crack your password. So the best thing to do is to use a password manager. There are a number of them online that work very well. Most of them will charge a fee, but it is worth it. For most people, generating and remembering long, random, and unique passwords for every account is not possible, myself included. So rather than write them down, which it's not bad necessarily to write them down. If you do write them down, just make sure that it's hidden away so that it's not easy for somebody to find them. But use a password manager. The password managers, they generate and store, and they can even fill in your passwords for you as you're navigating through the web and through your applications. Password managers usually can tell you when you have a weak or a reused password. They can generate very strong passwords. In fact, most of mine are 25 characters long or longer. And of course, I have no idea what they are because the password manager takes care of them. I only have to remember my very long and unique password to get into the password manager. All right, moving along here. How am I doing on time? It looks pretty good. All right, so multi-factor authentication, also called two-factor authentication. It's a code generally sent to your phone or to email, an authenticator app. So this fuzzy picture that you see on the screen here, that happens to be Microsoft's authenticator. But there are others out there. Google has one. There are others that are free as well. So by using authenticator app, you can better secure the application, better secure access to that application. Usually what will happen is the application will send either a token to the phone, to the authenticator app, and then ask that you enter in that code into the app in order to get access to it. There are other types of multi-factor authentication too. You can see here at the bottom, there's biometrics. So you can use fingerprint or facial recognition to gain access to the app as well. So as you might imagine, multi-factor authentication increases security. It can make it significantly safer online for you. Even if your passwords become compromised, unauthorized users will be unable to meet the second step requirement and will not be able to access your account. There have been occasions when the multi-factor authentication has been compromised, but because the user had a very strong password, that kept the threat actor from compromising the account. And of course, the opposite is even more true, where the password is compromised, but the threat actor was not able to get through multi-factor authentication. One thing that I want to bring to your attention, because it is now becoming more prevalent, is threat actors are trying to exhaust people by sending many requests to the phone to try to get the end user to click yes or authorize or to provide the code, whatever it might be. So basically, they're just sending request after request after request, hoping that at some point the user is going to get sick and tired of getting the requests and they're going to click yes. So if that happens to you, obviously you want to pay attention to that and take a look at your account. Don't respond yes to it, especially if you are not the one who's trying to get into the application. So where should you use MFA? Email, obviously. Accounts with financial information, highly recommend that. Most, if not all, banks nowadays, credit unions, they all provide the functionality to enable multi-factor authentication. Anything with your personal information, social media, use it on LinkedIn and Facebook and all of those other social media platforms as well. Those platforms, threat actors like to try to gain access to those applications, because then they can pretend that they are you and try to gain access to everyone who's in your contact list. So you obviously don't want to be the source of your friends getting compromised. So make sure that you use strong cybersecurity practices yourself, and multi-factor authentication is a good way to do that. All right, recognizing and reporting phishing. Hopefully your organizations are already doing this with you, but phishing basically occurs when criminals try to get us to open harmful links, click on links, email attachments. Those things are usually malicious, and they are usually requesting personal information, or they're going to infect your device itself. The messages are often designed to look like they come from a trusted person or organization. So you need to really look for the common signs nowadays, which are an urgent or emotionally appealing language, especially messages that claim dire consequences for not responding immediately. Things like arrest warrants or court appearances or even the IRS. So just kind of, again, pause, take a breath, and then confirm and verify that the request is legitimate. Definitely watch out for requests to send personal and financial information. Look for shortened URLs. So tiny URL is a familiar one that many people will see. So it's a short URL, but when you click on it, it goes to a very, very long URL that would appear in the address bar at the top of your web browser. Obviously, by hovering over that short link, it will give you the actual link that it's going to go to. So that's one way you can confirm and verify that it's legitimate. But even then, be careful, because it may look legitimate, but in the end, it's not. So just be very careful. Look for incorrect email addresses. Something that, the email address that you see visibly, when you hover on that, isn't the same email address that it's going to go to. That's a huge red flag right there. Look for things like going to Amazon.com, but yet they've spelled it Amazan instead of ON. So that's an easy one to catch. Back in the day, you used to be able to look for spelling errors and bad grammar, but nowadays the threat actors are using artificial intelligence. So their grammar and spelling is even better than I would use in messages. So it's hard to look for spelling errors nowadays and use that as a mechanism to identify phishing. In fact, nowadays, if it's a spelling error or a bad grammar, it's probably legitimate. But again, just verify it before you actually do anything with it. So a few what nots to do and to-dos here. You can see don't click any links, don't click any attachments, definitely don't send personal information. Do verify the information that's being requested and the requestor themselves. Contact that person directly if it's someone you know. And don't use the email address or the phone number that's in the email. Use one that you have either looked up on the internet or that you have in your own contact list. Do report it if it's something that is fishy. In the end, just delete it. If it is something legitimate, they will send you another message. All right, next is update your software. So keeping your software up to date is an easy way to stay safer online. Many applications nowadays will allow you to turn on automatic updates. So You don't even have to think about it. You don't have to be bothered by it. If you do get a reminder to update your software, don't ignore it. Pay attention to it, because generally the reminder is letting you know that there's a problem that the manufacturer has found, and they are updating the software in order to take care of that probably uh, compromise or vulnerability within their application. Usually the updates will fix a bug, or they'll improve the performance of the application or add features. So don't click remind me later. Make sure you pay attention to it. And then if you can, use the automatic updates. I've added a few things here. So the previous slides were all of the canned Cybersecurity Awareness Month things that CISA is using for this year. But I've added a few more things here that I think are important that I like to tell people about. The first one here is debit cards. If you don't have to use a debit card, if it's just something that the bank has given you by default, just destroy it. There's no need to have a debit card. If you do need it, keep it turned off when it's not in use. Because think about it this way, a debit card is a direct line to your money, into your account. So if the threat actors gain access to that card by randomness, they've just been able to figure it out. But whatever way they get to your card, they take that money out of your account directly. It's not as easy to get that money back as it would be if it were a credit card. So most banks and credit unions are going to give you an application that allows you to turn that card on and off. So I highly recommend that if you don't destroy it, at least keep it turned off until you need to use it. Next is going to be public or free or open Wi-Fi. Think of Starbucks or public places like a library. Try to avoid using the free Wi-Fi whenever possible. And if you do use it, don't enter personal information, don't access your bank accounts or the IRS or anything that you wouldn't want somebody to gain access to. You can look and make sure that the link is at HTTPS. That usually means it's secure. But if you can avoid it altogether, then don't do it. Generally, phones can be used as a hotspot. So if you use your own phone as a hotspot, that's much better than using public Wi-Fi. So if you do have to use it, though, just be careful with it. Oh, I got a little too click happy there. If you have children, uh, just make sure that you talk with them, be involved, be present with them, talk with them about their own their own security, online security. Set rules for them. Use parental controls if you can, and make sure that they have separate accounts and are not using your accounts for anything. They should all have their own accounts. One thing at the bottom here I like to point out, and that is to lock your children's credit files. So they likely won't need it until they're 18. They're not going to need to get a loan or something like that until they're 18 or whenever. But go to the 3 credit bureaus and freeze their credit reports. That way, if a threat actor were to gain access to their social security number, for example, they would not be able to open up accounts in your children's name. So by locking that and freezing the credit reports, they would not be able to open those accounts. The most expensive accounts that threat actors will pay for is a newborn baby. Generally, mom and dad will, one of the first things they'll do is they'll get a social security number for the child. The thing is, though, if that threat actor were to get access to that social security number and it's a newborn baby, they have nearly 18 years to wreck that that account before the child grows up old enough and is ready to use it. So they're some of the most expensive accounts that threat actors will pay for. So lock it right away. Doesn't matter how young the person is. And even you yourself, and I do this myself, you should freeze your credit reports so that somebody can't open up an account in your name. Mobile device apps, I'm not going to get too much into this. Again, make sure that you update them whenever there is an update. Use legitimate sources for downloading. So, whether it's the Apple Store or the Google Store, try not to use other third parties to download applications because they're generally not going to be safe. Keep your apps up to date. Delete those that you don't use. So there's been times where I've downloaded an app, I thought it was cool, games sometimes. I use them for a little while and then I forget about them. So go through every once in a while and just delete the things that you no longer use. And the reason for that is because they generally will be looking for access to certain things within your phone, like your contact list. Um, if it's a game, it doesn't need access to your contact list. So why give it access to your contact list? So by deleting it, you obviously will mitigate that from that app from trying to gain access to whatever it's looking to get access to. So just be careful when you sign up and you get into these apps about what access you give them. And you can always go back in and change access later on if it's not working properly or it's asking for things that you don't think it needs access to, just delete it. So what do you do if you think you've become a victim? The first thing you could do is you could talk to your IT department, but local law enforcement is going to be a good resource to reach out to. If it's financially related, or even if it isn't, but generally financially related, I would go to ic3.gov, which is the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. The sooner you submit a report to ic3.gov, the better chance you have of getting your money back. I have personally known individuals within my own life who have had tens of thousands of dollars stolen from them. They reached out to ic3.gov, submitted a report, and they got all of their money back. Now, not everybody gets all of their money or any of their money back, but you stand a better chance if you reach out sooner rather than later. There are other resources you can report to, even CISA. If you go to CISA.gov and just search on report cyber incident, you'll get to a page which will allow you to report all different kinds of some cyber incidents. And if, like me, you feel like this little guy here, this is the end of the presentation. These are the contact information for those of us who here are located in Wisconsin. This is the Wisconsin team. The top two are the Protective Security Advisor. My counterpart on the protective side is John Bush out of Milwaukee. Myself, I'm out of the Milwaukee area as well. The bottom two are out of the Madison area. But honestly, it doesn't matter which one of us you reach out to. We can get you to the right resource that you're in need of. I believe that is it for me. Brent, I will hand it back off to you.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. So if all that wasn't scary enough, I guess we should probably just look at some more numbers here. I'm going to go through these slides pretty quickly, but essentially we want to stay left of the boom here, right? Because that's where the problems we can hopefully prevent and avoid all of those other headaches that come with it. So just looking at a couple of numbers here and just shows how alarming it has been. You can see there, just in 2023, there's been huge increases between large breaches for hacking and then also in ransomware. So we kind of put that in, general terms. Really, every day there is some sort of incident or breach happening. It's just a matter of who it's happening to, not a matter of when. Some other, just on a graph basis to look at this. This is through 2024, but that 2024 there that you see, That's only through September, and it's already affected 43 million individuals this year. And that's not truth in advertising totally, because that does not include that Change Healthcare that Dan referred to, and then also the Ascension. So we're well over the 100 million individuals for the year. Kind of looking at what type of breaches are occurring and kind of the timeline of those. In the past, it's always been, well, somebody left their computer in their car, it got stolen, the hard drive was accessed, and that's how the breach occurred. Well, that's not really the case anymore. As you can see, the line here of like the loss theft, it's decreasing. The hacking or IT incidents are increasing and really at an alarming rate, you can see there. That really just, going to Dan's thoughts of, how do we protect against these happening and just being vigilant in that space. And there, healthcare remains a top target for exploitation by cyber threat actors due to the data-driven nature and reliance on sensitive data. And they know, these threat actors know within a electronic health record, there's a lot of information available, whether it's social security numbers, date of birth, maybe financial within that. So they're targeting it for a reason. Just a couple of things on preparation can be prevention. Cyber hygiene, that's really looking at what Dan outlined there with, through the passwords and making sure you're not clicking on the phishing type of emails. Next step would be to review and update policies and procedures within your organization. Really making sure that you're being vigilant within your organization and to protect all of that information. What we know is you're only as strong as its weakest link, right? So if you have one employee that opens a phishing email, that can affect the whole organization. So we want to be real vigilant that everybody in your organization is getting that cybersecurity training and they're all aware of it and apply it. And that really brings us to a security risk assessment option. So an SRA is going to be looking at various aspects of how you protect yourself as an organization against these threats, and it goes beyond that even. And so we want to make sure that your organization is not an attractive target and that you put those policies and procedures in place. So I'm going to go in a little bit of an SRA, but not to steal Penny's thunder next month, and we'll have a link at the end here. She's really going to go into what an SRA is and how it can be completed for your organization. But really, an overview, it's a resource or software designed to help organizations assess and manage the risks associated with handling and safeguarding protected health information. And this really comes out of the HIPAA Act in 1996, a number of years ago now. It's going to look at your policies and procedures, how your organization responds to events, and looking forward, like onboarding. The different departments that can be involved could be your clinicians, administration, human resources, IT or IS, could even involve your IT vendor. If you're a small organization, maybe you contract some of those tasks out. It's going to identify potential risks and weaknesses and anything that could impact that EPHI. And with reviewing those controls in place, the plan and the goal is to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and the availability of the EPHI. Look at different topics such as contingency planning, education, and training. So just to kind of wrap this back around and the available resources, Dan did a great job of outlining how CISA can be a resource and contacted and be available for various options. The BH Connect program, and we're really here to assist Wisconsin Medicaid enrolled behavioral health providers and organizations. And that's really to look at your health IT and to get the most out of that. part of the program is whether it's one-on-one support, or there's also a component of being able to access resources. And like this webinar today, it's a resource. We also have an online platform that's available that has a number of resources that you can pull at your convenience. SRA that was previously mentioned, we have an online tool for that and can assist you, through that process. And one step of the process, we have a prep work checklist, and included in that is actually contacting CISA, and it's through an email and to get the vulnerability testing that they offer, and we have those documents for that. So again, we're available for that security risk assessment, and Penny will be able to really touch on that in our upcoming webinar. Really, next steps. Again, thanks so much for attending this webinar today. Your feedback is valuable to us, and we always are looking for future topic events or future topics for events, and also what assistance we can provide. So we will be sending an email with a survey, and let us know what you thought of today's presentation. As you can see there, the presentation will be recorded and available online through our BH Connect platform. We'll have a link to that in the chat here. And then please feel free to share this with others that may not have been able to attend today. If you would like to contact us directly, there is our BH Connect at metastar.com email. This comes into our inbox and can really access any of the project specialists on the team. And also, Dan had his email listed there. I'll have him put the most the email that maybe works best to contact his team in the chat for that. And then also there you can see our next event, SRA, an important step you shouldn't ignore. It is pretty vital, and it also is part of HIPAA compliance to be completed. And in the chat there'll be a link to that also. So that was a lot of information. Dan had some valuable information on CISA. We shared a little bit about the BH Connect program and the SRA. So with that, I guess, does anybody have any questions or comments, or kind of open the floor here for a little bit? We got a few minutes remaining.
I got a question for you, Dan. So when a system or agency has the threat, I know you said that there's the links to go file a complaint, but what are some steps that they should take while in the process of a complaint to protect their security, their data, whether it's like a PR step, what is kind of like that next thing missed while reporting?
Yeah, sure. So anytime that there is an incident, and that needs to be defined what an incident is, the entity, the organization should begin their incident response plan. So they should have that plan already in place. They should have done tabletop exercises against that plan to make sure that they know how to execute it. But that incident response plan is going to be key in moving forward judiciously throughout the process, because if there's an incident, let's just say it's ransomware, which is most prevalent nowadays, if you don't know what to do, who needs to be involved, things are going to get very bad very quickly. But if you have an incident response plan, you've tested it, and people know what to do, it'll go much, much better for you. And if you have, if you've engaged with CISA, because I'm not sure about your processes, your assessments, but if you engage with CISA, the assessments that we provide will really allow you to zero in on the pieces that you need to have in place in order to mitigate, and again, be left of boom, trying to be proactive and protect things before something bad happens. So that's really where our assessments focus, and we'll let you focus and put things in place that will keep the bad things from happening. But if they do happen, that incident response plan is going to be key. Calling your insurance company, calling the FBI, calling CISA, whoever it might be, you really need to have those steps in place, and that IRP is going to do that for you.
Thank you.
I have two questions. So we work with, and the picture you showed with all the different entities was helpful, but just wanted to directly ask, we work with a lot of independent behavioral health clinics. Would they fall under one of those was one? And my next is you said just contact you. But if I'm a small organization, I don't even know what to say if I was going to contact you. So did I just send you an email saying help? Like what would be helpful for, like, if they did want to contact you, just be like, I'm interested in learning more. What would that contacting you maybe look like from a very entry point level?
Sure. So before an incident happens, obviously, I'd prefer that you contact me, and email's perfect. We can meet and talk about all the different things that CISA can provide. Again, no cost for that. If there was an incident and you didn't know who to contact, but you reached out to me, doesn't matter whether you're small or large, I will absolutely be able to help. There is an organization in Wisconsin called the Wisconsin Cyber Response Team. I happen to be one of the team leaders. There's no cost for this. It is a volunteer organization. We have over 500 members throughout Wisconsin. Over almost 200 of us are incident responders. So if you're a smaller organization, 2, 3, 5 people, whatever, and something bad has happened, you can reach out and request that you get some assistance with the cyber issue, and the team spins up very quickly within a matter of an hour to 2 hours. You will have people on the phone with you, working with you to help understand what to do next. And again, there's no cost with that. If you have something, what I recommend is that you reach out to, it's called the Wisconsin Emergency Management, and I will post in the chat the information to that. You reach out to the WEM line and just say that you have a cyber incident, and they will spin up the cyber response team very quickly. This is the same phone number that municipalities call when there's a tornado or flood or hazmat issue. So it's an all hazards line, and cyber just happens to be one of those as well. So I will post this right now in the chat. So write this down, and if you have a cyber incident, just give them a shout.
So it seems like this might be something good for an organization to have be in that incident response plan, that they have it
Yes.
right there, that this is part of our response to that incident, just for the latest, greatest updates on what to do, and because it changes all the time, as far as how to respond. So thank you, that's very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's when Bill and I do meet with organizations, doing assessments and talking about incident response plans. The first call should really, obviously, to leadership, but should be insurance company, because you need to get that ball rolling right away. Second call should be, if you are a nonprofit, municipality, state, local, tribal, the cyber response team should be the second call, which is this one, because we can help. Generally, we don't assist with for-profit private industry organizations. Doesn't mean that we can't at least get the call and see what we can do to help, but most often it's going to be nonprofit type smaller entities who can't afford to reach out to a incident response team, and get professionals to do that. The volunteers are professionals in their field, and we have, this year so far, we've responded to 35 incidents in Wisconsin. So, and that's just those that report to the WEM duty officer. So there's probably others out there, but that's a lot when you think about it. That's like 3 per month almost.
Yes. Well, I think we're coming up on our hour here. Dan, again, thank you so much for sharing on CISA and all the other resources available, and everybody for joining us today. And we'll be in contact in follow-up then. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.